but don't, again, there we go. Thanks, Avery. As I was just saying, it won't hurt our feelings if you got put in the wrong room and you need to shift. Don't worry, no worries on our end. But as I had said, this is going to just really be a discussion, a share and chat. We're capturing our chats, so it's going to provide us with some almost like data points for us, so that would be great. And so let's kick start. If Avery, you could push to the next slide. This is kind of undergirding what Johnny Hollis shared with us this morning. And as I was telling people, I get to brag, she's my boss. It is wonderful. But just a reminder that as partners with FFLN and other family organizations across the state, our Title V group actually does want to point out and say that families are first. And so in our effective system of care that we strive towards, families are partners in care. I've got that one starred at the top. You can see the other priorities, but there's the mention of patient and family-centered comprehensive medical homes. Again, that patient and family focus. And then the bottom one, families and providers plan for transition to adult care and services together. And with our young person. So thank you. Next slide. Oh, sorry. Thank you, and the reminder, CYSHCN, that acronym is Children and Youth with Special Health Care Needs. Thanks. I just didn't want to take the space on the slide for that, but thanks for the reminder. So you see that a lot in Title V work, that acronym. It's also mentioned as SHEN, but it's our Children and Youth with Special Health Care Needs. And next slide. So I don't know that, because this is new for our Florida Family Leaders Network, that we're working to start to build youth and young adult involvement. And so I'm not certain that we have someone who would say that they identify as a youth that is on with us right now. Max Starnes, who happens to be in the other room in my home, is a young adult. And so he might be the lone voice on this at the moment. Is there anyone else, either chat or speak out and let us know if you're here with us that's in that classification?
Only young hearts.
Yeah, well, young at heart, aren't we all? All right, so Max Starnes, if you want to take a look at this, and if you have any thoughts on, if there had happened to be some people who identify, let's see, what was it, 10 to 24. But if there's something that you would like to tell about your experiences that you had in any kind of a youth council or youth forum involvement, and give us a little bit of feedback. Just for those of you who don't know Mac personally, he does use assistive technology for communication. And so we're going to give him a little minute. You can either chat on your phone, or if you want to put in chat box. Okay. All right. So he's going to chat in while he's giving some feedback about how he's engaged. I can say that both of my children were blessed by the opportunities they had as high schoolers to be involved in the family cafe has a youth forum, and so they were involved in that, as well as there's the youth leadership forum, which Mac may be telling about. So that was a great experience for those state level engagements that they were a part of. Again, while we're waiting for Mac, the other part was going to be, if you are with whatever organization you're with, do you include the youth voice, engage youth within your program structure that provides you with feedback and counsel and advice, or some other type of engagement? And tell us about it. And we can do it verbally, but if you want to type it in too, that would be great.
I just want to say, for me, I kind of have a unique perspective because I was born with a cleft palate, and I have a daughter who was born with a cleft palate. So I came through like the clinics that I work with as a child growing up through my teen years, and then you know, who knew 18 years later, I'd have a child coming through, and then I came through as the parent. So I see both sides of it. And I can recall, you know, at times where it was like, oh my gosh, we're going there again. What are we doing? You know, and then other times when they were planning a surgery or something and mom was flipping out, and I'm just like, how can I parlay this into something for me? Or how long am I going to be out of school or whatever? And it gave me a whole new understanding and I guess compassion and everything that my mom went through. Because as a kid, you're kind of like doom de doom de doom, what are we doing? And parents are like, oh my God, this could go wrong, that could go wrong. Am I trusting the right people? Are they telling me the right things? So I kind of see it from both sides. So I think that gives me kind of a unique perspective, and I try to remember that, especially when dealing with our adolescents, youths, whatever you want to call them. But as far as engaging them, I find it really hard to engage teenagers especially. And I think it's kind of an important time to try to connect them and make them feel like part of a community that shares their challenges. But my challenge is how to get them there, because they want to be with their friends, they want to do their sports, their video games, whatever. They don't necessarily want to come do an activity. So the only incentive I really have is I always give volunteer hours if they come to one of our events. So that helps a little bit.
Okay, and you're going straight to some of the heart of when we've talked about what are those barriers when that is looked at with those of us who have been in these conversations about developing a youth council or a youth advisory board or some such. You know, those are the barriers, and so we're going to try to flip to looking at opportunities and strategies to overcome some of those. But you're right on the mark. I've heard that many times. How about others who are in organizations? Does anybody who's on with us right now engage youth in any way? Even have you done it just as the occasional focus group?
Hi everyone. So I'm Aisha Salar from University of South Florida.
Hey.
Just to quickly share my experience. Currently I'm in Tampa, Florida, but initially I was in Connecticut. So with there, I was part of local community youth organizations. So one of the thing I had noticed is most of the families in one of the area, due to the socio-economic barriers, were not able to participate in many of the programs, the spring programs, the winter programs that are held by the town, because they do have a small fee associated with it, which could not also be afforded. So one of the way I had thought of engaging the youth as well as providing for those children was a baking, like a workshop. So what I did was had the youth, they like preteens and teenagers become the leaders, and the children participate from 5 to 10. So it was a very nice experience because all of the youth in the age of 15, 16, they felt like leaders taking that leadership, and the young ones had a neat opportunity to get that experience. So that is one of the way I thought is of engaging, because they're with their friends, they're getting to do something and enjoy with them, and it gives them a sense of leadership and a sense of ownership that we are doing this. And with that, we were also able to just raise like around $3,000 in 3 days, because parents were very supportive. Because when I came up with an idea, the first was like, that's a girl's thing, no boys like baking. But parents were surprised that their own sons were into it. So some of these events, the way I like to think is to incorporate different ages, from ages 6 years to the teenagers, and whichever in my experience, I've noticed whenever there is a leadership opportunity, the teens feel very connected, very like when they have the ownership, when they get to show. So that is some of the thing I was able to do as a youth leader for 3 years consecutive.
That's wonderful. That's a great story, and thank you, because yeah, I mean, part of our family's mantra is you're never too young to get started into learning advocacy skills and building on those skill sets that you're going to need on the education and the healthcare side. So that's a great reminder of that too. Mac, thank you. You said at many youth camps and forums, he's absolutely right. He participated. He was a youth leader in some various camps as well as in some forums. It's kind of hard to communicate when you have assistive technology, but the experiences felt like I was able to put my voice in and able to belong along with everyone else in those experiences, and that there was some leveling and appreciation across those peer sets with those cross disability groups that he was with. So I'm adding just a little bit there for you, Mac, but thank you. Again, they both, my kids, I could see their growth and their opportunities to actually be included and a part of development work and speaking into systems level perspective. So a lot of growth on that end. All right, so if there's nobody else that's going to speak to anything that they have, sounds like we've got some work to do, Angela, about building in the youth voice into organizations of all kinds. So if we could go to the next slide. So how can youth be engaged? They can join into a group or they can start a group. And I know that the secondary piece has got to be a real go-getter kind of person that would want to start their group, but it's possible and it does happen. And who can be involved? Well, we already talked about a little bit of who is youth, who is family, but any of the youth that have a healthcare condition or have had a medical experience, their siblings, cousins, friends, someone who has an interest or a concern about health, well-being, and healthcare issues. Even, there are some young people out there that get very engaged in those kinds of issues that surround our youth and young adults. And so it's finding those and getting the marketing out to those that say, to let people know there is a place for you. We welcome your voice. We welcome your passion. And so there's those kinds of involvement. But where and what kinds of organizations and how and the ways that young people can engage, this is where I want you guys to move into discussion as well, chat as well as speak in. But what kinds of organizations can and welcome in that youth voice in an advisory role, or a council or a focus group or whatever. And I've reminded that we have the Family Cafe. They have a youth council that's a state level council, but it doesn't have to be state level.
This is Paula. I actually got my son involved for a couple years on the ESC advisory committee with the school district.
Yep.
Kind of dragged him there.
No, that's right.
I tried to get him involved with the Family Cafe Youth Council and some other things, but he's not there yet. But he has no problem advocating. I think he's just watched me for so many years that he's
called osmosis.
Yeah.
So there are civic organizations. There is an organization called Youth Move. MOVE is in all caps. There's the national level, but Florida has Youth Move in a variety of cities. Oh gosh, the civic organization, National League of Cities. They have state level and local level kind of civic related youth advisory councils. So there's lots of places that youth can plug into to learn some of those skills and engage in that way. I believe Jack's Hats partners with a couple of organizations over in Jacksonville, and there is one that's related to healthcare more so through Jack's Hats. The two organizations that I mentioned, Family Cafe and then that Youth Leadership Forum, as well as several others over the years, Title V has tapped to pull in some of that youth voice for feedback in what we do. And about 2 minutes.
Linda, I was just, if I could just pose a quick question, then I'm going to run to the other room and you guys can talk about it. But I'm just wondering if, and I appreciate, Paula, your comment about you know, getting your son involved, and, you know, I tried really hard to get my daughter involved, and then she moved on to bigger and better things. But I'm just wondering if now that we're all becoming, you know, so tech savvy and, you know, are moving so much more towards these virtual forums, if that's going to provide us with some more opportunities for engaging. I mean, would it be a safer space for them to get on to an advisory board meeting from the comfort of their own bedroom or something like that? Or, so I'm going to leave you with that thought, and you can let me know.
He could play video games at the same time, probably.
Well, any other ideas and strategies that people want to mention, either in the chat box or that, you know, have sifted through your mind? I can tell you AMCHIP, which is the Association of Maternal and Child Health Bureaus. They have a lot of great information. You'll get their resource listing, but they have a lot of discussion about there's all different kinds of ways to pull in youth. And there's a lot of other states that have things going at a state and local level. So we'll give you some more to